It's a pleasure now to welcome Jack Hidary, CEO of SandboxAQ, to the Cipher Brief studio. Jack is joining us from the Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, which I don't think a lot of people in our audience know. It's the world's largest energy exhibition and conference. And Jack, I want to get into a few of the things that you're doing there, but first, I just kind of want to get a sense from you of what's the buzz like in the room there. I mean, it's an incredible amount of people, an incredible amount of exhibitors, all focused on energy.
Suzanne, great to be with you here from Abu Dhabi, from ADIPEC. This is the world's largest energy conference. Energy has always been important, of course, in our society, but now it takes on a new significance because of the deep connection between AI and power. Without more energy, we cannot power up the data centers for AI. And AI now is also helping us think about new forms of energy. So this interconnect between these two worlds colliding, AI and power, it makes this doubly exciting this year and last year compared to previous years.
I think, you just hit on the buzzword there, which is the ability to generate the power that is needed to run the AI that is already changing the world, whether you like it or not. And there's a lot of talk as well about sort of China and competition in this sphere. Are people talking about that on the sidelines there, about where sort of China is in relation to building these energy centers and where sort of the rest of the world is at the moment?
Well, right now, actually, it's really about the total needed addition to power up world data centers. There is some geopolitical discussion, but I would say the overwhelming discussion is how are we going to meet this need? Where is the AI going? What are the use cases of AI? All the different industries that it's going to change? And how do we meet this demand through all the above strategy, all kinds of energy? The second topic, I would say, Suzanne, is really about how does AI itself help us have breakthroughs for energy itself? I'll give you an example, batteries. We know that batteries are critical, not just for EVs, but actually the bigger market for battery storage is stationary batteries to store electrons generated, but not needed at that moment. Batteries serve as a key buffer that can make baseload power from intermittent power and deliver that when needed on demand. Now, batteries today are still too expensive to really go worldwide in terms of a commonplace means of storage. And so we want to use AI to actually bring down the cost of batteries. And that's a new kind of AI, Suzanne. That's AI for the physical world, not AI for the digital world. Most of the AI that all of our viewers here are familiar with is AI for the digital world. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, wonderful tools, changing the world about how we do customer service and marketing and summarizing documents, creating deep research documents. But AI for the physical world, for new forms of energy, for storing that energy for batteries, that's one of the key topics here today as well.
That's fascinating. I know that you have been talking a lot with folks there as well, Jack, about AI and cyber, kind of the impact that's going to have. I just spoke recently for a State Secrets podcast interview with General Timothy Hawk and General Paul Nakasone, both who led NSA, who were commander of U.S. Cyber Command. And this is really top and center as well. How are you thinking about this relationship between AI and cyber, both kind of pros and cons?
Suzanne, this is a fundamental topic right now. AI is unfortunately the dream tool of all hackers, whether they're a state-sponsored adversary or individual or group hackers. AI is their dream tool because with AI, you can create phishing letters, you can look for patterns and find vulnerabilities in ways that no human could do before. On the other hand, AI is now also going to help us protect those critical national infrastructures and national defense and security. It's mandatory that we now use AI to defend our key infrastructure and our national defense. So AI both has a negative intent in terms of the adversary, but also can help protect us. And building on that, we also now have to consider the quantum threat. Quantum right now is not yet able to crack the length of keys that we use today in national security. When we think about the RSA keys, elliptic curve, those kind of security protocols that we've had for about 40 years, Suzanne, they're not able to crack those yet, but that time is coming soon. The quantum companies, be it the large companies such as Google, IBM, Amazon, and others, Microsoft, as well as the upstart companies such as PsiQuantum, Q, and others, they're making really good progress. And here, China is making significant progress in their quantum initiative led by Pan Jianwei. And so in the next few years, we're going to see the kinds of quantum computers that crack today's encryption protocols. The good news is that NIST, the National Institute of Standard Technology of the Department of Commerce, has worked with partners worldwide, more than 36 countries, to come up with the antidote, the defense against these kinds of quantum attacks. The challenge, Suzanne, is are we going to be able to switch over to those protocols in time before those quantum computers come?
Yeah, I think time is obviously really of the essence when it comes to all of these issues. When you look at the rate at which technology is advancing, I want to dig in just a little bit more with you, Jack, on the now versus hype question when it comes to quantum. It's often described as 5 years away. I think you said a few years away. What is actually deployable today in SandboxAQ's energy work, and what still really belongs in the research lab?
Well, great question. So SandboxAQ, the A's for AI, the Q's for quantum, these are the twin engines of transformation of our economy. When you look at the energy sector that we're discussing here today at ADIPEC, right here in Abu Dhabi, when we think about how can we get more yield, when we get hydrocarbons out of the ground, what products can we make out of that? Not just some low-grade fuels, but maybe new kinds of products, maybe carbon fiber, maybe structural products that can help lightweight vehicles, that can help lightweight planes to make them more fuel efficient, even maybe becoming structural components of buildings. And so when we think about all the use cases of the energy products and the feedstock, we really can start opening that up if we have AI for chemistry. So again, this takes us beyond AI of language to AI for the real world, AI for the physical world. So that's one thing we're talking about. Now, those use quantum techniques on GPUs, the kind of chips that NVIDIA makes. NVIDIA, of course, is one of our investors, one of our partners, and it's great to be able to work with them. Just last week, in fact, we announced at the NVIDIA conference in Washington, D.C., a new AI model for catalysts. It's the world's most advanced model to make these catalysts. What is a catalyst, of course? It's a compound that is used to accelerate a reaction, reduce the energy needed for reaction, but does not get used up in that reaction. Catalysts are fundamental to the energy sector. Every major oil company here, every energy company represented at ADIPEC is a major user of catalysts. But it's been very hard, Suzanne, to develop novel catalysts. This AI developed with NVIDIA and SandboxAQ now opens up that territory to innovation for all the energy companies.
Jack, energy infrastructure is very messy, though. We're talking about legacy systems, siloed data, remote assets. I wonder, what's the hardest technical challenge, do you think, when deploying AI in these environments, and how are you thinking about solving it?
Well, it's a great question. Fundamentally, first, we have to think about numbers and equations, not words. LLMs, of course, have good application to summarize documents, customer service. If you've got a downstream business with filling stations, things like that, you want to use LLMs for customer service, marketing, great stuff there. But in terms of the heart of an energy company, the heart of it is the upstream, the midstream, the downstream. There you want to use quantitative tools trained on chemistry, physics, the kind of things that create new products. What we're seeing in the energy space, because of now the global surge in demand and also of more available supply, we're seeing the pressure on the energy companies to move up the value chain and not just offer the normal feedstocks as output, but actually offer value addition and become more integrated companies. We're seeing that happen both here in the Gulf region as well as back in the US.
I know you do a lot of work as well, Jack, your company does with government. When you're thinking about the future of national security, what are you thinking? I mean, I hate to ask this question, but I do anyway. Well, you have to have some top targets. I mean, we already talked about the fact that time is really not on your side. The competition is fierce. What are you thinking the top 3 things are that need to be almost addressed or somehow resourced as quickly as possible in order to sort of ensure national security? It's a tough question.
Well, sure. No, great question. First of all, for national security, we need to think about new materials. Material science is hard. It's chemistry. It's physical. And what we're doing with the U.S. Army, announced by the Army, is we're creating a new alloy that will allow them to lightweight the next tank. The M1 tank, as an example, is quite a heavy tank, about 60, 70 tons fully loaded. Need to take 20 tons off that tank to make it more agile. That means new material science. Of course, you can make anything out of aluminum, but that's not going to be a very strong tank, is it? And so we need to think about an alloy that has both the lightness that we need as well as the strength that we need in a tank. Right now, we're underway serving the U.S. Army in that capacity. We also have to think about other priorities, such as navigation. We know, Suzanne, that a number of state actors, as well as other parties, are jamming and worse, spoofing GPS around the world. Here in the Gulf region, it's a major issue. It also is an issue in the Indo-PACOM region as well. So when we think about spoofing GPS, that's a very dangerous issue for a military. As you're flying that jet fighter, as you're deploying that drone or missile, if it doesn't have access to accurate GPS, that's a problem. Jamming is one thing, but at least then you know you don't have GPS. Spoofing is even worse because now you have a situation where you don't even know you don't have GPS and you're flying in the wrong direction. What is the answer to that? Once again, we've got to turn to quantitative AI, and in this case, also turn to quantum sensors. A lot of our viewers here probably have heard about quantum computing, but quantum sensors are here today. This is a technology that's being deployed right now. A quantum sensor can pick up the magnetic field of the Earth, and with that magnetic field, feed into an AI that can navigate that plane with no GPS whatsoever. We've now demonstrated that over the past 3 years on the U.S. Air Force planes, and now recently, it was just reported by Airbus that they took our solution on 100 plus flights, 44,000 kilometers, and demonstrated the use of that navigation as well, using a combination of quantitative AI and quantum sensors. So those are two of the key priorities right now: new materials to make our vehicles, missiles, and other drones, as well as navigation for our planes and other vehicles as well.
Jack, I want to switch gears slightly just to talk about investment in the future of all of this. You were there at the Abu Dhabi International Petroleum Exhibition Conference, ADIPEC, as most people call it.
Yes.
And investment is such a critical part of this. I'm wondering, what you're saying to investors when they want to know what's my return and when. They're focused on ROI. But what is your message to them when you're thinking about the investment horizons for a lot of these technologies?
Well, the good news is now we have a lot of case studies of impact. MIT recently published a study on the return on AI investments, AI use cases. What they found is that on the large language model side, many of those initial investments did not yet return what people were hoping for. Certainly, there's many, many good case studies. I'll give you an example with code generation. If you and I are coding up some program, we can definitely use AI as a co-pilot, as a helper with us to get that code to be more productive. The current stats in the market are roughly a 20 to 25% uplift in productivity when we're using AI for coding. That's a great use case for large language models, particularly in the national defense sector, other very important sectors as well, where we've got to get that code out quickly. Also, we can use that to quality assure the code as well. But when it comes to a lot of the key parts of national infrastructure, we're really in the quantitative world. We're in the world of new materials. We're in the world of targeting. We're in the world of navigation. We're in the world of energy and power, batteries. Think about the warfighter, Suzanne. Think about our warfighter in the U.S. and other armies around the world, how much gear they carry in their rucksack and on their person. Think about the batteries they need to power that gear. We want to deliver new battery chemistry to make sure that they can carry what they want to and power that up. New battery chemistry means we've got to get beyond lithium ion. We can't just keep using 40-year-old technology. That again means we've got to move AI into that quantitative world, large quantitative models instead of just large language models. So we're seeing really good return right now on these kinds of quantitative initiatives because they really hit the issue head on immediately.
Jack, entrepreneurs are visionaries. I want to know what your vision is for Energy 2.0. If AI and quantum do achieve their promise, how would the energy sector look different in 35 compared to today?
This is a fundamental question you're asking. Right now, the feeling at ADIPEC is of energy scarcity. You have everyone talking in conversations here about we need more energy here, more energy there, more storage, more generation. The grids are a mess. We need to connect the grids better. And that's all true. But what I believe as an entrepreneur, as somebody who knows that we can actually create new ideas, deploy new ideas with a lot of different shareholders and stakeholders, I believe that in that kind of time frame, we're going to be talking about energy abundance. And one of the questions we should start asking as governments, as private sector participants is, when we start moving from energy scarcity to energy abundance, what are we going to use that energy for? I'll give you just one example. Secretary Burgum of the United States is talking about energy from a national security point of view. Absolutely agreed. Another national security issue is water, availability of clean water. And that takes energy. When you look at the Gulf region where there's a scarcity of fresh water, clean water, if we want to help our allies here in the region, we've got to think about efficient use of energy to desalinate water and clean the water for drinking purposes, for agriculture, for other use cases here in the region. In a world of abundant energy, we can start thinking about addressing the 2 billion people on Earth who still do not have access to clean water. 50% of the beds that are hospital beds that are occupied by patients in many of the emerging market countries are occupied by patients because of dirty water, water with pathogens and other issues. With clean water, which requires energy, we can actually solve healthcare issues, but fundamentally water is a national security issue that people fought wars about, of course, over hundreds of years. So Absolutely. Let's start thinking from scarcity of energy, Suzanne, to abundance of energy in that kind of time frame you're mentioning.
Okay, Jack, wrapping up this conversation with a personal question. What's the most fascinating conversation you've had since you've been on the ground there in Abu Dhabi?
Well, certainly my conversation with Secretary Burgum has been great, talking about the shared vision of national security with energy independence. Also, conversations here, fascinating conversation just now with one of the national oil companies of the region, talking about how to transform the industry from one that just offers some fuels to one that thinks about upvaluing to a multitude of products that offer value to a much wider set of consumers. So both in terms of a lot of the U.S. folks who are here, but also talking to folks on the ground in the Gulf, thinking about this transformation in this industry.
Jack Hidary, CEO of SandboxAQ. Thank you so much for joining us live from Abu Dhabi. It's great to have you here in the Cipher Brief studio.
Great to be with you, Suzanne.
Look forward to next time, Jack. Thanks.
Thank you.